We have a very special episode today because we're doing an interview with an amazing band that just released a new record. The band's called Swallows Rose. The record's called The Beginning. And here joining us today is Dominik, the singer and I guess main songwriter of the band. We're going to get into that. He's here today, and we're going to talk all about the making of this record because this has been a hybrid approach. So it's partly self-recorded, partly recorded with professional help. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the journey of the band. And also what I'm really interested in is hearing how the record, came to life before we even started recording, because I think the whole writing process, the demo phase, like everything that happened between the last record and this one is really interesting, I think, for people to hear. This is a band that I absolutely love. I've been working with them for quite a while. They are incredibly hardworking. They are really cool to work with. They put in a lot of effort, a lot of passion, their heart and soul into this. The lyrics mean a lot to them and to me as well. And so, yeah, I'm beyond excited to show you that record. It's going to be in the show notes and the links below this video. And also, I'm excited to introduce Dominik to you. So, hello, Dominik. Thank you so much for joining us today and being on the podcast.
Hi, everybody. And thanks for having me.
And as always, I'm not doing this by myself. I'm here joined by my friend and co-host, Manel Espinosa Berenguer from Spain. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Hello, guys. I'm really happy to be here one more week and also happy to have the chance to interview this amazing person here.
Too much flowers.
Perfect. Yeah, let's get to this. So I said this is it's probably going to be mainly about the record that just came out. So at the time of this recording, the record has been out for about 2 weeks, and we're going to talk mostly about that, I guess. And I said in the beginning, it's a hybrid kind of approach. This means that I've worked together with the band on this partly. So I recorded the drums and I recorded vocals with Dominik, or I didn't play the drums, I was engineering them, of course, and then engineered the vocals. And then the band did bass and guitars themselves. And then I mixed and mastered it all at the end. And this is how it happened. And even before we started, there was like a long sort of demo phase, and Dominik did a lot of like experiments and some deep thinking, and there was one point in the process where I made him question everything for a short moment.
Everything.
So let's talk about that. I don't know what the best way to start with this is, but maybe explain to us, Dominik, what the record means to you, and like how long, like when did the whole project start? Let's start there. Like how long ago was it that you started to work on this project?
It all started back in 2023, I guess. So it was 1 year after our downfall, our album Downfall. And, I needed some kind of break from songwriting. But when I first took the guitar, it felt pretty good. And I wrote about 3 or 4 songs, which I sent to you.
Yeah.
And, my expectation was the feedback is just like it was always before. So, hey, great songs, let's record them or something like that. Let's do an EP or something like that. But no, it wasn't. But in somehow, in some kind of way, this was the perfect start for the album because none of these 4 songs are on the album. And as you already mentioned, I really questioned everything about the songwriting process I found myself in, but I knew that you also wanted to bring out the best in me. So I really sat down and tried some different things. I mean, my taste in music also some kind of changed over the last few years, much more into hardcore music and on the other side into pop punk, but not anymore in this 90s skate punk, some kind of bubble. And so somehow I think I tried to take these 2 things, the pop punk side and the hardcore side, and bring them all together in a few songs, and it really started out to make sense for me.
Yeah, I remember it. It was like I obviously liked the songs. It was not at all that they were bad, but I think my feedback was something like, those are Swallows Rose songs, so they're great, but it's also kind of what I expected and kind of the same, and maybe we should try something new, sort of.
It was something like that, yes. You told me that you like the songs and that you think they're good, but you think there is more.
Yeah.
And turned out, you were right.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the interesting thing is, I think right after that, you didn't straight end up where you ended up, like eventually. Like, I think you first experimented a bit and took it a bit, quote unquote, too far, or you like experimented a lot and ended up not liking it anymore. Is that like, that's how I remember it, where tell us about what happened next, because I think you explored a couple of different things and didn't really like where this was going in the beginning.
Not only in the beginning, but the end. So the first song on the new record is also the first song that I wrote for the record. So it was not only at the beginning of the process, but in some days I tried really much with some synthesizer stuff and something like that. Bring a few effects in it, and it didn't feel that good sometimes. So it wasn't Swallows Rose anymore. I mean, it's the right approach to take the Swallows Rose songs and add a few other elements, a few other, how should I say, not only punk rock, just get in a little bit hardcore, get in a little bit of the pop punk, maybe a little bit pop, a little bit rap on some tracks, but it still feels like Swallows Rose songs. But on some demos, I remember it didn't feel like that anymore. So,
yeah, and that's such an interesting thing to me, and such an important part of the process to to explore these extremes, these limits, and see what comes out of the process. And eventually, I think there was a little bit of silence for a while because you were just thinking about what to do and where to go with this. And then at some point it clicked and you came back with a really, really cool mix between all the things that we talked about. And I remember I was going to, I think this was fall 2024, where yes. I was driving to Hamburg with Thomas, and I were driving to Hamburg to Studio Szene, the studio event that we were invited to, where we met Manel also in person. And on this drive up there, we listened to the demos that you sent us, and we listened together, and we made notes about like what we liked and didn't like. But both of us were like absolutely stoked and excited and surprised also by what we heard. And the cool thing was that there were new elements in there, like heavy breakdowns and like some other things that you just mentioned, but you still had your kind of signature anthem choruses, for example, that I always loved, like the sing-alongs, the nice melodies, and that kind of stuff was still there, and it was not cheesy. There was not like any kind of really weird, over-the-top sounding synthesizer parts. It was still a punk rock record. It was still Swallows Rose, but there were new, exciting things in there that I didn't expect. And so I remember hearing those demos and was like, yeah, that's exactly what I meant. So I don't know, how did you land there? Was it listening to a lot of references, or was it like, how did you end up with the songs?
Actually, when I'm thinking about it, maybe because it was a time I really listened a lot to Combat Kid, Stick to Your Guns, Beartooth, all these hardcore bands, metalcore bands, whatever you like to call it.
Yeah.
And maybe it was, but bringing all these elements into these Swallows Rose songs really brought back the passion for writing music, because when I remember when I listened to the demos I recorded, I was like, yeah, this feels good. This is exactly where I want to be with the new record. And so in some kind of way, after all this work, it really brought back the passion for writing music, and it wasn't work anymore to sit down about 5-6 hours writing songs. It was just for the fun, for the love of the game, if you want to call it like that.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. That's good to hear. This is actually something those are exactly the things I wanted to hear in this episode as well, because I think people need to hear that, because this is something that we see a lot and we hear a lot from the artists that we work with, also in our coaching, for example, where once, at some point, making a record, whether you do it yourself or not, it becomes work at some point. There's always work involved, a lot of work, actually, if you do it right. And not just making the record, everything that comes after it. And you know it better than anyone at the moment. Like, it's a lot of work. And it's easy to forget sometimes why you started doing it in the first place. And it used to be a passion thing on the side, and you got excited about it every single time. And at some point, it just becomes work. And I don't know, it's like something that a lot of artists, I think, struggle with. And I think that's just part of the game. And you just gotta find a way to bring, like, sometimes we just gotta push through, yes, but more importantly, I think we have to find ways to find the joy again in all of this, and figure out why we did it in the first place, because otherwise you'll lose the passion for what you've once loved so much. And and I don't know, is there any specific thing you did to find that kind of passion and joy again in that process? Did you take a break intentionally, or did it like...
No, not a specific thing. I don't think so. I really think it was about hearing the finished demos.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just the 11 songs. I think I wrote about 30 songs or something like that for the record. Some of them already have some vocals on it, some are just instrumentals. But also hearing the finished instrumentals, or hearing the other songs that didn't make it to the on the album, it was just like, it feels good. So, and this was the one thing I really think that kept the motivation up there. So,
yeah. Oh, that's great to hear. And you gotta push through for a certain amount of time until something clicks, and then you're gonna like, oh yeah, I remember now. That is what I wanted, and then it comes back. It's like authors when they write books, they write a lot of crappy pages, questioning everything, but at some point it all comes together, and then you can see the whole thing again. And it's just part of creating art, I guess. You got to show up and do a bunch of shitty things until something great shows up eventually. And also the fact that you've written 30 songs or something, and not just the ones that are on the record, is important for people to realize. That's what many great bands actually do, because not everything you write is going to be the best thing ever. So, yeah.
I mean,
cool.
we took about, I guess, 14 songs of these 30 songs into band rehearsal, and we sat down and talked to each other which of these 14 songs will go on the album. So we decided to put 11 on it, because 3 of them we said it's not our best work, so let's just do 11. But we're really happy about the 11, and
cool, awesome. Manella, I saw you wanted to ask a question just before I asked the last one, so go ahead, please.
Yeah. So my question is more about the psychological aspect of all of this, because I guess when Benedict told you, about his opinion on the first 4 songs, you probably got hit with a wave of negativity and all that. So, like
what I typically do, I hit people with waves of negativity. I love that.
Some people have weird hobbies.
Yeah.
So, what was your approach to overcome those feelings?
I really think he did exactly what he needed to do, because his words, they got me into this situation that I really wanted to show him what I am capable of doing. So, and first of all, I really thought, what? I mean, I was really happy about the songs, and as you already mentioned, it was a wave crashing down, but for me it was, I think about a few minutes later, I thought about it, and it really pushed me in some kind of way. So I really would recommend people to show their songs to other people who are not involved in the band. So to have a second opinion or a third opinion on demos, because I really think that other people are looking different on it than your band does. In the first moment, everything's cool that you're doing as a band. I mean, but having a second or a third opinion from someone who's not involved in any rehearsals or something like that is really important. And this was the whole point of this.
So basically your approach is that you did not let that wave drown you, but
No.
you used that to like push harder,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
For me, it was a motivation.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And this is a great segue into what I also wanted to talk about next or ask about next is like, it's kind of a theme. There's even on the last record, there was even a sample from the Rocky movie. I think about this is like, you know, it's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. So this is a theme that has been top of mind for me on every, like on the last record and this one as well. And you, without going into too much personal detail and all of that, but this whole overcoming challenges, pushing through, standing up again, doing something again, like this is a very important topic to you, and you talk about that a lot in your lyrics. You
Yes.
You are a fighter, and sometimes are forced to be one as well. And so, can you talk to us about what the record means to you, and what overcoming challenges also means to you, and how you process that on the record?
Oh, it's just a lot. I mean, over the last 4 years, so much happened, and you know, I'm very open talking about all this stuff that's going on in life because I got the diagnosis that I have multiple sclerosis, and this whole album is about overcoming all these challenges and dealing with it, and but also seeing the good sides, talking about it. I've got so much love from other people and so much support, and I really wanted to talk about this as well on the record. So it's a very personal record on the lyric side, and yeah, for me, it's just how can I say that? I look back at these last 4 years and what we have done together and what we still can do together. So yes.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's like not only that you talk about it on the record, like you said, you're very open about it. You talk about it on social media. You made reels on those topics, and I saw the reactions and how much people appreciate that, because everyone is going through their own thing, and there's some is worse, some is not as bad, but it's not about comparing that. It's like everyone has their own things that they have to deal with, and people just feel seen and heard and understood, and they appreciate that, and it's just powerful. And if you have a band, even with it doesn't really matter how big the audience is. You have quite a big of an audience, but it doesn't really matter. If you have some sort of audience, if you can do anything to inspire people to make your music more than just the music, basically, it's a really great opportunity to just make some change in the world, and you do that in a very, very, very cool way. And also, when I saw the reviews of the new record, people not only talked about the songs and the sound and whatever, they also talked about that, like the things that you were processing in those songs. They always mentioned that. So I think really people notice, and I think it makes it a very meaningful record as well.
Yes.
And it also goes to show that punk rock or hardcore does not always have to be political all the time, whatever. It can be super personal and have just as much of an impact, maybe even more so, because it hits people personally, directly.
It's the one thing, the reason why I fell in love with it first time.
How so?
So it was not because of political statements. I mean, they are really important in this kind of music and so on. But the reason I fell in love with punk rock was bands like Rise Against and Sum 41. So we were always quite personal in their songs.
Yeah. So, have there been any particular songs or records that got you through those hard times the last couple of years, despite writing your own, like other than just writing your own? Is there anything that was important to you that you listened to?
I really think that if there's one record that will always be there in my life, it's Rise Against the Sufferer and the Witness. I really think it was the first time I've ever heard music like that. Back when I was about 12 or 13 years old, I remember really the first time I ever heard the album. And this album will always be there. Doesn't matter what happens. And I'm not some kind of guy who's sticking to albums, but to bands. I really need to say so, because when I think about all these songs from Story of the Year, for an example.
Yeah.
Or as I already mentioned, Beartooth in the last few years for me, one of the best bands out there. So it's not punk rock, but something's, they have something. I don't know, and
Yeah.
I really like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Was it hard for you to talk about personal topics like that at the beginning? Like, I don't know, showing the lyrics to your bandmates, or just the thought of like making that public? Was that something that scared you in any way, shape, or form?
On the album Downfall, yeah. So there was one song on it. So it's our second album, Downfall, and the song's called So Alone. It was the first time I really opened myself with all these problems. But as I already said, and as you already mentioned it, I always talk about it on stage as well, and I talk about it with the audience and so on. And they gave back so much love. Now it really wasn't hard to do that, because I know there are so many people out dealing with the same problems, having the same kind of issues, and yeah, I really figured out it's not a problem to do that, and so it just felt right to record such a personal album.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so yeah, I guess that helped that you already had the practice from the last record, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. I remember those vocal sessions. They were always like special to me, because like that's what the part of the record that I was there, especially like on the last one, I was there all the time. This one, I was there for vocals and drums, and it was so important to me to capture those lyrics and what's in there like the right way, like the emotion in it. And I remember that when you came in for those vocal sessions, you were a little sick, like, or your voice was a little, not at your best in a way. And I was constantly worried, like, this is so important. Like, we have to get the best possible takes. Like, what if the voice doesn't last? What if you can't hit the high notes? What if we can't capture the emotion, whatever? And you were always like, well, I know I can do it. Just, stay calm. I know I can do it. We can get it done. And I trusted you, of course, but also I was so worried, because it's so important that the vocals are right. Yeah. But you absolutely killed it. And I even think, listening back now, that some of the parts got even better because of that, because there's an extra sort of fragile element in there, an emotional element that maybe wouldn't have been there otherwise. Maybe it would. I don't know.
My voice broke sometimes.
Yeah, but in a good way. And I it turned out so well. But I also remember how nervous I was, because I was like, I don't care if we have to reschedule or do another day for free or whatever, but like, what matters is that it comes across the right way.
Yes,
but it did, and you had a good, good self-awareness, and you knew exactly what you were capable of. So that worked out great.
Yes.
Also, you did a lot of I think, vocal training in between the last record and this one, right? You definitely made progress, and that partly came from touring maybe as well. But it sounded like, and we even talked about it, I think, that like you intentionally improved your vocal technique a lot.
Yes, not with a coach, but I searched YouTube back and forth. So, and there's so many good tutorials. There's so many helpful creators on YouTube who are doing it for free, showing you some techniques, how you can improve singing, and also that your voice lasts longer. This is one big point for me. And I really think this was so important for the record to do that. Because otherwise, when I think back, I mean, how long did we one session? About 7 hours, 6 hours, with breaks for sure. But without the tutorials, without all the help from the YouTube creators and so on, never ever.
Yeah. I hear you. And it's always a pretty stressful situation to record vocals as well. Like, you're under pressure all the time, all eyes on you. You got to perform for hours on end. The voice got to last. There's all these. It's definitely not easy to do that. It's a good thing that you at least know that technically everything's fine, because you know what you're doing.
Yes.
And totally get it.
I'm curious, Dominic, like, what things did you change, like, specifically?
I think the most important thing is breathing with the belly, not with the shoulders, not with the chest. So I really did a lot of breathing techniques, and maybe the most important thing, warm up. So It's the one thing I really think that I was lacking before. I never warmed up my voice before I got into singing. So nowadays, I really, when we play a show, and even if it's just about a 30, 35, 40-minute set, I warm up about 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And there's one thing I really can recommend. It's called Luxvox. It's something to keep the vocal cords healthy. And it's just a mixture of these three things, I guess. So for me, it was really about the breathing and warming up your voice properly.
Yeah, for listeners, just in case you don't know what Luxbox is, it's this sort of tube, right?
Yes.
Like short tube that you put inside a bottle with water.
Yeah. Right.
And you can do like a lot of exercises in there, and that helps because it makes you that water makes a resistance to your air, so it makes you push harder.
Yeah.
In a way that when you are singing for real, you can do it easier, basically.
Yes. Yeah, I remember you doing that. You did that on the last record as well already, I think.
Yes.
But this is something that you stuck with because it obviously worked. Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
For me,
and the breathing
really,
and everything, I definitely noticed in the sessions that it got a lot better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Game changer for me, really.
Yeah. Well, very cool to hear. All right. Let's stay with it's like out of order a little bit, but still, since we're on this topic already, when it comes to vocal recording, why was it important to you? So I want to start differently. So it makes sense technically that if you have a limited setup at home and limited experience, that you wouldn't record your own drums because it's very complex to do that, and you need the room and the microphones and all that, and you can mess up a lot of things. So that makes sense. But technically, you could have recorded vocals yourself because it's really just the microphone and an interface, and and with a little bit of help, you could do it yourself, technically. Why do you think it's a good idea to record vocals with someone else in the room? Because this is something a lot of bands do, and I think it's a really good idea, even if you're self-recording. But I want to hear your thoughts. Like, what makes the difference for you as the performer if you don't have to do it yourself?
Just because I need a second opinion. I need the opinion of someone who's listening to the song as not the 100th time now. So, and I need someone who's telling me, no, that wasn't it. When you are singing, you're performing, you're in your head, you're just how can I say that? You want to do things right. So, but when you're performing, I don't think you have the ears to hear some sort of things, and I really need a second opinion on some things. And it's just as simple as it gets, and it's just from you the second opinion. It's just from you the second person who's telling me, now do it different, or I wasn't quite there. I was missing some emotions on that track because it was tape number 1000. And I really think this, vocals are maybe, I don't want to say the most, but one of the most important things on a record when you do music like we do.
Absolutely.
It needs to be perfect in some kind of way. So take your time and take someone with you, or even two persons. I mean, our friend Benedict, the second Benedict, he was there as well, and he gave me some tips, and he's the guy I did all the arrangements, the vocal arrangements with. And so having three guys, me and the two Benedicts, working on the vocals is another game changer. So you have 2 or 3 opinions on takes. You have opinions on the emotions on the take. Was the pitch right? I can say when I'm singing. So to 100%. Okay, I can tell a little bit, but not 100%. Yes, I mean, it's always better to have a few more ears hearing this.
Yeah, I agree. And then, like you said, the guidance and throughout the process and everything, it totally makes a difference. And also just not having to handle the recording, like even just being in the flow of things. Not if you do it yourself, you have to interrupt your own flow all the time. You have to make sure that all the technical stuff works, but you really don't want to think about it while you're recording. This is like one of the biggest challenges of self-recording artists, and it can be done, but it's definitely an advantage to have someone there. And even if you do it yourself, maybe have a bandmate in the room, someone who is operating the computer and hits record and stop, and someone who is there to hear it with a different perspective.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Just imagine having a track ready and you listen to it and you really think, oh no. I mean, there are some parts I really need to record again, and they're doing it over and over and over again because you're always performing and not listening to it. So, I mean, it's in some kind of way maybe also a waste of time to do it just on our own, because you need to perform, then to listen to it. Performing again, listen to it. Performing again, listen to it, going back and forth. So it's so much more than just having a few more years to listen to it, I think.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. How did you do it when you recorded, for example, there was one acoustic track that you did yourself, and, you know, things like that? Like, there was Benedikt probably there, like the other Benedikt. It's like, not me. Yeah.
And he played the acoustic guitar.
And he played the acoustic guitar.
Yes,
Yeah. And when you did vocals, he was there, right? I guess.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. So that's how you did it there. Yeah. Cool.
He's a much better guitar player than I am, so letting him doing it just makes sense.
How much involved was the rest of the band or Benedikt in the whole writing and arrangement process? Like, because I said in the beginning you're the main songwriter, which is probably true, but at which point in the demo process do you bring in the rest of the band? Like, when do you come up with the final drum patterns and like what the other guitar is doing and the bass lines and all those things, and do the others have a say in also your vocal lines or what you do on the with the guitar or whatever when you're writing? Like, tell us about that process. Like, how much do you do on your own, and when do you bring in the rest of the band?
So all the guitar tracks are the ones I already wrote for the demos. So they haven't changed. No, I just thought about it. No, they haven't changed. As in, I'm not a bass player. I'm not a drummer. So I programmed the drums first, and for sure I have a bass guitar here, just playing the chords, just for having some kind of bass in the tracks. And if there was a bass guitar riff, it was the one that I put together. But at the end, I sent them all the demos, and Michael, our drummer, he does everything with notes. So he wrote the notes for the tracks, and he sent it to me, and we did a MIDI file. And again, I put it into Cubase to have the programmed drums. But it was the notes he were playing then live in the studio. And Corby, he wrote the bass lines. So he knew the chords. He don't need to know much more, so he doesn't need much more. And yeah, I mean, you know him. You can deal with it.
That's why I'm laughing. It's like, it's so much more funny when you know him. Yeah.
And about the vocals, pretty much of the vocals were done by Benedikt and me. So, I mean, I did the main vocals, which makes sense, but the arrangements, so the harmonies, were done by Benedikt and me together, and by you, for sure, in the studio. So we figured out some kind of better ways in the studio. That's the advantage of having a co-producer, whatever you want to call it, or an engineer in the studio helping you recording vocals. So it's the third person who's telling you, I have a band idea. I remember the harmonies in Leave a Light On. You heard it the first time. You told me, no. We need to do some other harmonies in the chorus, and it was perfect. I mean, so that's the reason why for me it's so important to have 2 or 3 guys around me having a second opinion on it.
Love it. Love to hear it. Yep. Okay. One thing you just casually mentioned there, which is not really the norm for most bands that I work with, but I think it's worth repeating again, is that Michael, your drummer, he plays, like, he writes down his drum parts basically, and he has the notes there when he plays drums in the studio, and he just, looks at those and plays. And it's like, and he plays it really, really well, and he But like I think he's the only punk rock drummer ever that I had, that I saw in the studio reading from the notation, like the actual drum notes while he's playing in the studio.
Without any ghost track or something like this.
Yeah, that's the other thing. He doesn't even hear the music. Yeah. He doesn't even hear the music. It's just the click, his notes that he plays, right? Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened to him. It's the way he is. And I mean, if it works out for him, why not?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I had I was in the room when we recorded drums, and I asked for like scratched guitar tracks and stuff just for myself, not for Michael, but I had to hear the songs while we were recording because I needed to hear what we're actually doing and whether or not the parts are serving the song and if it feels great, because without context it's like impossible for me to do that. So I was sitting there with my headphones on listening to the guitars while Michael was playing, and he just played as if the song was there. He can't just do it without the music. He just writes everything down, plays it exactly as is. And the fascinating thing is, I mean, it makes sense he can play it if he writes it down. But the thing is, if I told him, let's go to the chorus again, or this or that part, and like, let's do this or that, he immediately knew what I was talking about. Like, he can navigate the songs and jump to certain parts without hearing any of that. It's like, it's wild.
Yeah. He's the musician in the band. Let's give it like that.
Yeah. No, but he's done a great job. He's done a really, really great job. And also the drum recording itself was so much fun. There was a really cool approach there. We put together this hybrid kit of different things. We tried different cymbals. I think it was also the first time ever that I made a record where every single cymbal we used on the kit was a different brand. Usually, things match and are the same kind of similar. And yes, you swap out a hi-hat or something at some point. But what we ended up with, we had a selection of cymbals. What we ended up with was like, hi-hats, ride, 2 crashes, and China, I think. And every single cymbal was a completely different brand, but it worked out well together. And so that was just a fun process. And I think it was my shells from, like, now it's Thomas's kit, but I think the main kit was from Thomas, And then it was Michael's snare.
Yes.
And then some cymbals from God
from
knows who, like all kind of friends.
And he brought some cymbals with him. So
yeah. So that was really, really cool. We had a good selection of mics, did a couple of shootouts there. I rented all kinds of things together. I had some analog stuff, a nice little analog desk, and like racks of outboard gear. Like, we documented the whole thing anyways. It's on YouTube. The link will be in the show notes and below this video. If you want to check it out, we documented the whole drum recording process. And by the way, just so you know, when you when you watch that video, I think I even say it in the video, but like, we're talking to each other in Bavarian. So even if you're from Germany, you're gonna have a hard time understanding anything. But I comment on it in English, so you still will be able to make sense of it. But yeah, that was the drum recording session. And I think this whole hybrid approach makes so much sense because drums are by far the hardest thing to do yourself if you want to have real drums. And even programming is not that easy if you want to do it in a convincing way. But we said we wanted real drums. We talked about a clear vision that we had for them, like really, really punchy, but and like a couple of things that were important to us. And we didn't want to do it overly polished, so obviously programmed or just really sample heavy was also not something we wanted. It should be kind of wild, but still big and punchy and all these things. And so obviously that's hard to do yourself. So it makes so much sense to start with the drums like that. You can then do guitars and bass yourself. I'm not saying that's easy, but that's way easier technically than to do drums. And then vocals, for the reasons we already mentioned, were done again in the studio. Let's talk about the guitars and bass real quick, because that was things you did yourself. What I remember was we talked a little bit about some tones that you used to monitor yourself and to play through, basically. And then I remember, I wasn't involved, just remotely, we just kept in touch. But I remember there was also a period of frustration there for many different reasons. So maybe just walk us through that kind of process, what you did, how it went. I don't think I know everything. I just know that there was it was not always fun.
No, but as you already mentioned a few minutes ago, writing an album and recording an album is always some kind of work as well. Yeah. So, and sometimes things don't go to plan when you record all the tracks and the guitar tracks as well. So, I mean, pretty much it was because you need to be so clear in the recording. You need to be so, how can I say that? I mean, I'm not a perfectionist in any kind of way, but when it comes to music, I really think I am when it comes to recording things. So it must be polished at least. And sitting on 1 or 2 tracks for about 3 or 4 hours can be really, really challenging. Not only for your mind, but for the friendship. But no, but in the end, I mean, it turned out to be everything's turned out to be great. So we did it all together. This is one thing I really wanted to mention.
Yeah.
There's not just a one-man project or something like that. We're all in this together. We everybody recorded his parts, and everybody brought his things into this album. And now it also was fun. It's not just work, but you're working on with your friends. So at the end of the day, it's a hard working time with friends. So let's keep it like that.
Yeah.
But for sure, it's challenging. I mean, you want it to be perfect in the end.
Yeah.
You put so much effort in it. You put also money in it.
Of course.
In the end, you just want it to be perfect. So
I have a question for you guys.
Yes.
In terms of, both for the drums and guitars and bass, in terms of like the preparation of the recording, like what you said also, Benedict, that you used many different cymbals. How do you guys go about that, like that testing period? Or do you have any sort of procedure so that you don't get drawn into hours and hours of checking different amps and cymbals? Or like, how do you go about that?
to be honest, our testing period was one day with Benedict in the studio. And he told us, no, that cymbal, no, that's not good. Yeah, that cymbal's good. So he was the one. He and our drummer, Michael, I think you two just selected the cymbals, selected the tones for the drums. And also when it comes to the guitars, it was Benedict, so the other Benedict and me doing the tones for the guitars. And Corby, he did his own bass guitar tone. So it was a mixture of everybody in the end. Yes.
How did you come up with your guitar tones, though? That was, I think we talked about it briefly, but I didn't do that much there. Like we talked about, the Tone Hub plugin, I think was what you used, and like a little bit back and forth there. I gave some recommendations maybe, but it was mainly you picking, certain presets and amps and whatever. Like so how did you go about that? Like what was the vision, and how did you end up using what you ended up using?
Well, I mean, the vision was about a really pretty thick tone for the rhythm guitars, so we wanted to be, much more in the hardcore style, some kind of that way. So it was just trying. We really tried about 200 packs, Tone Hub or something like that. And I mean, you can select your favorites. So we put in a few favorites, and then we selected the tone for the rhythm guitar. And we did the same process for the lead guitar, and we ended up, I think we were using mostly the 5150 for the rhythm guitars. I really think it was the expansion pack by Brian Hood.
Oh, really?
If I remember correctly, yes.
I thought it was Andrew Wade for some reason, but maybe
Andrew Wade was the bass tone.
Okay.
Was
my dude, Brian Hood. Shout out to Brian if you see this. So, didn't even
I
remember
really
that
think it was the Brian Hood pack for the guitar tones, also the lead guitar. But the lead guitar was a Mesa Boogie dual, I think. But the bass tone, I can't remember. Was it Andrew Wade or someone different? I really don't remember. But I was just trying all these different packs, searching for one that we think it suits best for the album, and that's not much more to it.
So then, how much time did it take, the testing period versus the recording period?
So the testing period for guitars was pretty long. I really think we spent 4 or 5 days, each day about 3 or 4 hours, just testing some tones. We wanted it to sound perfect for us. I mean, we also have some different tones on it. So there's some clean guitar tones on it. There are some with effects, and so we spent pretty much time doing this, but not as long as recording. I think recording was. I can't really say because we did a lot of it after our 9 to 5 jobs during the week. So I remember really coming home from work at about 5 or 6 p.m. and playing guitar with the other 3 guys in our rehearsal room for about 4 or 5 hours each day for about 3 or 4 weeks, something like that. So, but I really can't tell you how much. Let's say I think it really was about 21 days, but not full days. So it always were about 4 to 5 hours.
So could you say it maybe the testing was 20% and the actual recording was 80% or something like that? Or 30-70?
Wow, pretty hard to say. I really think it was about 15% testing and 85% recording.
Okay.
Keep it like that.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So testing is very important.
It is important. You want to have the right guitar tone for your album. I mean, in the end, you want it to sound just as you have imagined it a few months before.
Yeah.
So take your time, test the amps. It's important.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think I'm not 100% sure anymore, but I'm pretty sure. I think that I reamped at least a couple parts or like blended in, different amps with what you sent me. But that doesn't really matter because it's still absolutely worth the testing, because if you have a sound that you like when you play through it, you play differently. You interact with the amp in a different way. So that is one thing. It has to excite you while you're playing. You do the palm mutes and everything differently. There's a different kind of sustain. The amount of gain matters a lot. So even if it's just a placeholder tone, it matters when it comes to performances. And the other thing was yours that you picked really worked well the way they were. So I didn't even replace them on the record. I might have blended in some other stuff. But the other thing is, even if you send it to someone for mixing and they reamp it, then you have a really great reference tone. And so in this case, I knew that whether I end up using your tones or not, I know exactly what you want. And maybe if I have a quote unquote better way to get the same tone, but with whatever make it sit better in the mix or something, I knew exactly what to do and what to reach for. And if a band just picks, just half-asses this and just picks something that kind of works, then I have to come up with something from scratch, and that might not necessarily be your vision. So in your case, what you sent me absolutely worked, and even if I ended up replacing it, I would have known exactly what to go with. And so it's absolutely worth doing that, and you just also play differently.
And on the other hand, we wanted to use the sounds live. So we just didn't want it to have them on the album. But now when we are playing live shows, we wanted to have the same sounds. I mean, it just makes sense in some kind of way. But that was the main reason to spend so much time for testing.
So another question: when you decided on rhythm guitar sound, did you use the same rhythm guitar sound for every single track, or it was different in every song?
Not in every song. We use pretty much of the rhythm guitar sounds for almost every song. Just a few parts are different, but just less gain or having a delay on it or something like that. Depends on the part, like I said. But the rhythm guitar tone is pretty much on the whole album. And for the lead guitars, we really played around a little bit. So same as the rhythm guitars, I mean, for most of the parts it worked. But we really messed around with having effects on it, and delays, reverbs. I can't remember everything we did, but also with the gain a lot, and with the overall guitar tone. So I really think we had about 4 or 5 different guitar tones just for the lead parts, and then we played around with the effects. Just depends on the song. I mean, there are songs on it that are much more in the, let's say, pop punk kind of way. So we had less gain. We had a little bit more reverb stuff, delay stuff, something like that. There are songs on it that are more on the hardcore genre, and we put way more gain on it. We put just to suit the song. Always, what works best for the song, we put on it.
Mhm.
We didn't have a preference for the whole album, but for the songs. So maybe this makes it a little bit clearer.
Yeah. I think it's also interesting. I didn't even remember that what you mentioned for the rhythm tones. It was mainly a 5150. It's interesting because we also used that one on the last record, just the real 5150 in that case. It just seems to be, I mean, it's not really surprising because for modern heavy music, it is one of the best amps that you can have and record with. For the last one, we used an original block letter 5150, and in this case, it was some plugin. But, and I even reamped through the real one again, I think, on the last one. But anyway, also interesting because it's sometimes, or oftentimes actually, and if I talk to a lot of my peers and I talk to people making other records, oftentimes it's the few tried and true things that just work. You don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. And if you look at all those patches in some of the plugins, you'll find the same kind of amps everywhere. It's oftentimes Mesa Boogies, it's often 5150s, it's Marshall JCM 800s. It's like the same things. It's often Mesa cabs, and yes, there's always like exotic whatever things, but for the most part, if you look at what your favorite bands are doing, you'll find some tried and true stuff that just works, and then you can still make it unique and tweak it so that it's yours. But it doesn't have to be that overwhelming. You don't necessarily have to try every single amp in the world. That's just interesting thing as well. Yeah, cool. So let's talk a little bit about what happened after the record was done, because it doesn't stop there. I mentioned in the beginning, you're one of the most hardest working sort of independent, smaller, quote unquote, smaller bands that I know. I mean, you have, like I said, a pretty decent audience and you got signed to a really cool label now as well and all that, but you still have full-time jobs. It's not that this is your main thing you do all the time. So just so people get an idea of what I'm talking about, we talked about all the work that went into making the record. That's one thing. The writing of the record, all those things. But then the work doesn't stop, right? No. And so especially if you're ambitious and you have goals, and in your case, you teamed up with Uncle M, which is one of the more, significant indie labels in Germany and in Europe. It's a very cool, indie label for punk and alternative music. And they ended up, making a deal with you on the record. They released the record, and this comes with a lot of responsibilities and tasks and to-do lists. So
a lot of plans.
Tell us a little bit about that. What does it take, to get? I mean, you have more than 100,000 streams. I don't know how many exactly in the first 2 weeks of releasing the record. And you've done 20. You've went up to very close to 20,000 monthly listeners shortly after releasing the record. You've been on rock rotation, like big playlists, and you've been on a couple of podcasts, including this one, and you do a couple of things. How do you get there? Like, what did it take in your case to get there? And tell us about the work that went in after the record was mastered.
So we made a lot of plans, but we said from the beginning that we wanted to try something different. I mean, the first 2 albums were released on Span Records, and we really want to thank them for everything they have done for us. They done so much for us, really. But we also thought, well, the music's kind of different. Let's try something different and putting it out as well. And when we received the message that Uncle M is willing to do it and wanted to work with us, it was really big for us. But we also knew now the real work begins, because I know Mirko, who is the head of Uncle M Records, for a few years now, and he's a great guy, but he demands a lot from his band, but for exchange, he also gives a lot. And this is what makes him so special, I think. So there was a lot of communication going on. I really think that I can't count all the messages we have wrote and all the calls we've had. But at the end, as you already mentioned it, I mean, we are now in a situation we never thought that we would be. So we have about 130,000 streams on the album after 2 weeks. We ended up on some big playlist. And it was all because he guided us on that way, and he told us what's right to do, what's not. So cutting videos became one of my main jobs in this life. I don't know how much reels I have already made. So having a lot of content is maybe the number one rule after recording an album, and also putting together some other stuff and having some specials. I mean, it's a lot of networking with other bands, with other brands as well. So with creators, with fan scenes, magazines, podcasts. So it's a lot of writing, a lot of content creation, and a lot of communication. I think that's really says everything about this situation.
Yeah, and again, you having full-time jobs and just hearing from a distance like all the things you did and seeing the result of that, the reels you've been posting, the stuff you've been doing. I was often thinking like, man, after a 9 to 5, sitting down for hours pretty much every single day doing all these things, this is like a second job, really, right? That you have there. It's like, absolutely fascinating. And I know that not many bands are willing to do this. And the disconnect is, and this is why I like, this is one of the reasons why I love you guys so much. I also, obviously, it's personally, but one of the reasons why I love this band so much is for so many people, there's this disconnect between what they want and what they're willing to put into it. So they would tell me the exact same goals. They want the same things. And then when I tell you, well, I know a couple bands who do this, and here's what those people typically do, then immediately it's like, well, I can never do this, so no. Yeah. But they still want the same thing. And you guys made a decision, well, we want this, so we do it. And if you had decided that you didn't want to do it, then you would have known that obviously you can expect less, and that's just what I like about it. It's like it's this alignment of what do we want to accomplish, how much time do we have, what are we willing to do for it. And I guess it was not an easy decision for you as well, because when you had that opportunity, you probably also thought, well, I don't know if we can actually do this. We only have so much time. So it was probably not easy to say yes to it, even though it is a great offer to be on a label like that. But you have to make sure you can actually do what you're supposed to do.
Yes. And I really know we didn't always meet the expectations, because like you already said, everybody here has its job. Some have already kids. So to find the time to do everything like that was challenging, really challenging. We also had a tour with a great band from Germany called Massendefekt. It was last fall, so we had to play almost every weekend in October and all over Germany. Well, not all over, because near us there was no show less than 3 hours away from here, so we had to travel a lot also. And beside it, to make all these reels, make all this content, make all these videos, make plans, what we want to reach with every single we put out, and so on and so on. It was pretty tough and it was challenging, but yeah, I think it always depends on the communication between you and the other part. So with Uncle M, it's just communication in the end.
Yeah, totally. And you would say, I mean, you already said it pretty much, but you would say that most of the things that you've done with Mirko, with Uncle M, you wouldn't have been able to do those on your own, right? Like, it was absolutely great that you had his support and his help there. I was just asking it because, so many people these days say, well, you don't need labels anymore. You can do everything yourself. And I get where this is coming from. And in theory, it's true. There's no gatekeeping and stuff anymore. But on the other hand, it depends on what the label is really doing for you, because some labels don't do shit. If we're being honest, they just they might pay for the manufacturing of the record or parts of it or whatever, but that's oftentimes it. And then other people like Mirko really help you beyond that and like want to make sure that people actually listen to it. That's the big difference. You don't necessarily need a label to get it on Spotify or to be available on a mail order or something. You can do those things yourself if you figure it out. But Mirko is doing more than just that in your case. That's important to realize here. And so I think you would agree that you definitely had you benefited from that collaboration.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's one thing about him. Either if you love it or you hate it, but he's going into detail. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I know we need reels. I know we need content when we are planning to put on an album. But he's telling you what camera angle you have to use for the reels. So this is the one thing he's so great in. I mean, he's just going into detail in every part of the promotion stuff that's going on. And this is one thing that makes him special, I think.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, totally. And also, if you aren't aware, like if you're listening to this and you didn't know, Mirko also did a guest workshop inside of our coaching program, the Self-Recording Syndicate. So this is still available for everyone in the program. You can watch the replay of this. This was really great. He took the time to explain a lot of these concepts that he goes through with bands, a lot of creative things also. And it was cool because he started off with the digital stuff and like things you would expect, although he always has a different spin on everything. Like it's always a little surprising. But he started off with, the online digital social media stuff. And then halfway through, it turned into, hey, there's also things outside of these big tech companies that you can do. Like if there's not just Reels and TikTok and Instagram and social media. There's also things that you can do in the real world, depending on your situation, where you live, and all those things, of course. But it was really cool to just see a more of a holistic, general, creative approach to music marketing and some great ideas in there. So that was a really, really cool workshop. So for anyone in the program, this is still available. And if you join the program and work with us, you get access to this as well. And we aim to do more of things like these because, it was really, really, really cool to see his approach there. Yeah. All right, cool. So what are some plans for Swallows Rose this year moving forward? Like, how you're going to play shows, I guess? Are there any like exciting tours planned or things that you can announce already?
We have a lot of shows happening this year. So I think there are about 20 or 25 already announced. Looking forward for every single show. I mean, you know us. This is what we love to do. And we're going to release 1 or 2 more songs this year. Keeping up the algorithm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm totally excited for those. That's gonna be cool. Yeah, some content in between, and then the live shows. I would highly recommend you catch Swallows Rose live. We just played my old band Bridges of Burning. We just played the release show with Swallows Rose in our hometown, and it was absolutely fantastic. That night was like really, really special to me personally, for many reasons. And like the live show is very, very energetic. It's a mix between energy, but then also this sense of unity and sing-alongs and like. At the end of it, where everyone, everyone was singing together, the music stops, we just keep singing, and it's just a great experience. And also you got so much more experience now over the years as well. I remember a couple of years ago, I've known you for a long time now, and you can tell that you just played a lot, because in the beginning it was really you playing your songs, and then it was not this whole like thought out show that just works seamlessly together. And now it's like you can just tell that you have the experience, that what happens between the songs, what you say to people, the energy, everything, it just makes so much more sense. It just looks so much more mature and just pulls you in so much better. So I always also have to say, like, you made so much progress there.
Thank you.
It's fascinating to see, really. Yeah. I don't know how you feel about it yourself, but this is definitely a difference from compared to what you had in the beginning. Yeah.
Same way, but thanks.
Yeah. Cool. So, Manel, did you have any other thoughts on this whole thing? Or was there anything recording or production-wise that we missed talking about?
Well, yeah, I mean, I have a question about the vocal recording, which is like, how did the session go? Like, do you like to record the vocals like in one take, the whole song? Or do you prefer to like go... in different beats, or how do you go about that?
Most of the time, if I remember right, you can help me on that, Benedict. I recorded each song for the first time. I recorded the whole song and then part by part. The first take was always for the feeling, so that also Benedict knows more about the song and what it needs to sound like, and then we went part by part because it's for me it's much better because I can really concentrate on this part. We can really go into detail. That one note, no, sing it a little bit higher, sing it a little bit deeper, add something more rough, more gain to it. Depends, but I really like to go part by part.
And did you do a lot of like doubles and stuff like that?
I really think doubles just for the choruses, but we did a lot of harmonies, and what we do a lot on the recording is some kind of gang shouts. So as a choir in the background, yes, but much more harmonies than doubles, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing. Just to make this as valuable as possible for the self-recording people listening to this, when in doubt, you can always record doubles and you can mute them when you don't need them. But in this case, like, I was very intentional about where we needed things, and this was due to a couple of reasons. So first of all, I didn't want to make Dominic sing all the doubles just on principle, because it also, I just wanted the voice to last, of course. So I wanted to make sure we only sing the stuff that we really need. The other thing is, I knew, listening to the demos and listening to the rough mixes and while we were recording, I just have a feeling for when I need, and also I'm going to mix it so I know like what are the parts that I need doubles for because they need to be a bit bigger or wider, and what are the parts where I'm not going to use them anyway. So this just comes with experience, of course, and I'm being very intentional there, and I just know building the song where we're going to need which things. Harmonies, it was not always that clear. Like with harmonies, we recorded a few where we were like, yep, that's a good idea, but let's see if we will really use them. But that is something where sometimes you get excited about a new idea and a new harmony, and then you let it sit there a little bit, and then you think, maybe it was better without it. That can happen. That's just a normal part of the process. But
it can be too much as well. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think so that your approach, what you just mentioned, is really right. We just recorded a lot of harmonies, doubles, very intentional, and the general approach was to do longer chunks or the entire song to get into the song, and then go into the detailed parts of it. And I think, did we do it on this one as well like that? Like, what I typically try to do is also think strategically about what are some difficult and hard parts to sing. Does it make sense to do these early, or does it make sense to save them for later? Is it good if the voice is already breaking up a little bit for those parts, or do we need to do them earlier before that happens?
We were selecting the songs like that. Not parts, but the songs.
Yeah. Yes. So you told me pretty much what are the difficult songs, and I think that's important. You got to be strategic about that, because the worst thing that can happen is that you blow your voice on the first song, right? And then,
start with an easy one, and then for me it was always some kind of led to easy ones, then the most challenging one, and we maybe did about 4 tracks each session, and we ended off with an easy one as well. So
yeah. That's just good mentally also. That's just good for, like, if you save the most challenging one for the end, it can also end up being pretty frustrating. So that's why I think you need to, be a bit strategic about it. But that worked out pretty well, I'd say. Like, and I remember I was so nervous because of the voice, like, for no reason, because you just delivered. But like, the moment you walked in and started talking, I was like, we need to reschedule this. This is not going to work.
On this day, I was really sure about it to do it, because I don't know. I already felt sick, so and I knew that this isn't the best voice I've ever had on this day, but somehow, I don't know why, I really felt like, let's do this, and in the end, it was a good idea to do it.
Yeah, and it was also hard for me a little bit, because part of me really thought, this is not a good idea, this is not going to work, and I want to save him from, wasting a lot of time and like ruining the voice even more. And so I felt the responsibility to tell you that it might not be the best idea, but then on the other hand, the more I say this, the more you might end up, and you might get insecure, and maybe but like, that's what I thought, I was like, what if he's right, and it is actually a good idea to do it. I should trust him. And then I was like, I didn't want to ruin, the situation, or like take away from the motivation and the excitement. But at the same time, I didn't want to lie and say, "Oh, it's all great." When I read it in reality, I thought, "Oh my god!"
But
like
also,
that's.
because of this, we also selected the songs right for this day because we both together decided it wasn't my best day regarding the voice. So
True.
we selected 2 or 3 songs we thought, okay, these are the songs that suit today.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Now, Manel, any other questions on the whole thing?
Yeah. The other question is, did you go through all the lead vocals first and then the backing
Yeah.
vocals, or
Always.
so you did the lead vocals of every song
Yes.
first and then the backing vocals of every song?
And now I think we went song by song. Now this was the approach to do it on Downfall, and now we did all the lead vocals first because we said this is when the voice is at its best. The lead vocals are much more important than the harmonies or the doubles or something like that. So we went all through the lead vocals and then we added all the extras.
Mm-hmm.
Not entirely. But maybe I'm wrong. The way I remember it is, yes, the harmonies for sure, like exactly for the reason you mentioned. But I think we did doubles right away, didn't we? Like, I would
doubles,
be surprised if
right.
not, because
doubles we did
usually
right away. Right. Yes.
Because usually I'm like, if you're in the mood already and you just sang a perfect take, it's easier to do it right away because then you'll sing it pretty much exactly the same. And if you wait and do it later, so that's why. And I think for the doubles, there was always pretty much just one take. Like you saying, we did it until you had a perfect like lead take, and then I was like, okay, let's do a pair of doubles. You just did them, done, perfect. Let's move on. They don't have to be perfect even, and you were very close actually, pretty quickly. But I think we waited with the harmonies and made sure that we had all the lead parts first. Yeah,
it was the most difficult day. To do because some things are really high up there.
Yeah, they are.
And to do it all in one day, all the harmonies, all the high notes, was challenging, but we did it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there were some really killer ones in there. I remember that.
Yeah.
And then as a very last thing, we did like gang shouts, gang vocals, that kind of stuff. That's always a fun way to wrap up the recording sessions, I think.
I really
to
think
do that
so as well, yes.
Yeah.
Bringing them all together.
Yeah.
Having them in there, joking.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing to do.
Yeah. Oh, and then maybe one thing we didn't even mention, like there were some extras on the record, like, you know, some subtle, but still there, some synth stuff, some additional production stuff that you did. I don't remember all of it because on the last record, I did a lot of that. On this record, I think you delivered everything basically. So you made that yourself. Was it all you? Was it other people in the band?
No, this thing I did it completely myself.
Yeah.
Yes. I did all with these little thing here.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
Any particular
No.
any particular synths or things you used that you really ended up liking?
To be honest, I'm not sure about that because I'm not really into synthesizers or something like that. I just used something. So when I thought it sounded good, I just took it. I mean,
was it all stock Cubase stuff, or did you get any third-party things?
No, I got some third-party things, but it was all free stuff. So
yeah,
and it worked out. So
yeah, it totally did. It was just little extras, anyways, little textures, little things here and there. How did you do the trap hi-hat stuff and the percussion things like that?
Splice, I think it's called the
mm-hmm.
one program.
Yeah, it's great.
Love it for things like that. It's so cool to add some bass drops, some trap beats, some sort of that things.
Yeah, totally great. That's true.
So good.
And any of the other, did we have like tambourines and standard percussion stuff in there? I think so, right?
But I just programmed it. I mean,
everything.
There are over 1 million tambourines on the internet, so I really didn't think it's necessary to play it in the studio.
No, it isn't. No, absolutely. No, that worked out great. Yeah, I just try to keep thinking about what else was there. Did we have any movie samples or stuff like that this time? I don't think so. Yeah, we did.
And Back in Life, yes.
And Back in Life. Yeah, you're right. There's this one. Yep. Yeah. Oh, man.
And we had 2 features on it. So
of course. There was 2 features from other bands. Those were important.
From Watch Me Rise and Joost from Catapults. Such great singers, and absolutely love what they did for the songs and made them so much better.
Yeah. That was a concept that Yeah, that was a concept that already worked on the last record,
Yeah.
and this time it absolutely worked too. I remember when what was the first one I heard?
The end with Josh.
The End.
Watch Me
Oh,
Rise,
yeah. That is insane. Like the energy, the aggression in there that just took it over the top. It's
Yes.
so good. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's great. No, both of them, fantastic parts. Yeah. All right. I think people should just check out the record. We talked about it so much. Like that is absolutely worth listening to. You're gonna discover so much on that. I'm so stoked about how it turned out. I am also excited to see that all the reviews and what I've seen in terms of reactions online so far, people seem to really like it and resonate with it. I've seen some creators use it on in their social media reels as well, even without you asking. I think some of them just so ended up using it, discovering it. So people just like the record, which is awesome. And so if people want to get the record and not just stream it, if they want to get it on vinyl, what's the best way to go about that?
In Germany, Uncle M Shop, and I think it's almost everywhere to get it. I think JPC or what's it called, the one big record store.
Yeah.
I think they're shipping to USA, to Canada, and just type in the beginning vinyl in Google and you will find a homepage that
Perfect.
is delivering it.
Yeah, I'm going to put all the links I can find in the show notes as well. And below this video, you can order the good stuff. I have my copy of the record here. I just made a post about it today. It's a very beautiful looking record as well, not just sounding one. It's like a really beautiful looking vinyl. And so, yeah, you can get the good stuff and also merch and all those other nice things. I'm going to put it below here. Cool. Any last words? Any final words? Any final words for the podcast?
Just that, I mean, I hope everybody knows in here that you also have a big impact on this record. And I hope you know that you have, because you did a lot of not just engineering things in it, but you co-produced it with me and with the other guys, and also did some sort of things. I mean, you're always a creative guy when it comes to engineering as well. So just for example, the drum parts in the second verse of Leave a Light On or something like that. So you had a big impact on it too. And people should know that as well, I think.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Yeah, as always, if you want to work with me, you can go to benedictine.com. This is the studio website. And if you're interested in our coaching and want to learn all those things yourself and have me as a remote producer guiding you through it, you can go to the selfrecordingband.com/coaching. And I'm excited to talk about your next project and see if it's a great fit. So thank you, Dominic, for saying that. I really appreciate that. Cool. And also Manel, let's not forget you. Manel is part of the Self-Recording Band team. So Manel is the songwriting and creative brain here. Like he's very good at like creating something from nothing, coming up with arrangement ideas, coming up with, creative writing stuff. Also a fantastic mix engineer. So yeah, beyond stoked to have you here as well, Manel, and to have you on the team. So
Thank you.
All right. Let's wrap this up. Dominic, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Everyone check out the links in the show notes and the description. Check out Swallows Rose, the beginning. Go catch them live. And also, Dominic, thank you for trusting me so much over the years as well. It's always been a pleasure to work with you.
Pleasure's for you.
All right. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.